Okay, so our next speaker is one of my favorite people in the world. In fact, yesterday we had our leadership group in the other room, and I thought to myself, who do I know that I could put in front of them that will help them take their leadership to the next level? And I picked someone who, if I could pick someone just to sit and listen to day after day after day, and I've learned so much from, it would be our next speaker. And sure enough, they were supposed to finish at noon, and nobody wanted to leave. They didn't want to eat. You know that they're good if they don't even want to eat. How many of you were in that room, and you're like, can y'all just bring our lunch in here, and can we just keep going? And so this man actually happened to be Zig, a great friend of Zig's. He'll probably talk about that. But he was Zig Ziglar's Sunday school pastor. So whenever you taught Sunday school, you had to have a pastor over you, and it was this man. I was telling Bruce, I think it was, maybe not Bruce, somebody, I was telling this. No, it was A.C. Lockyer, and he was going, he was Zig Ziglar's Sunday school pastor. How old is this guy? So he thought Sunday school teacher, right? He was misinterpreting what I was saying. And he did just have a birthday. Maybe he'll want to tell you how old he is. But probably the youngest person at heart, one of them that I know, and a man that I've learned so much from. You're going to love him. Dr. Robert Rome. Come on up here to the stage, boss.
Oh, man. Thank you, Howard. It's good to see all of you here today. How many of you would honestly and truthfully rather be here this morning at this gathering, in this meeting, in this room, than dead down at the funeral home? See, it's good, isn't it? It's always nice to be where you are. Because if you can't be happy where you are, you'll never be happy where you're not. So, yeah, I go way, way back with Zig. In April of 1981, Barbara Mandrell sang a song called "I Was Country Before Country Was Cool." Do you remember that song? I was country before being country was cool. I was teaching the I Can Zig Ziglar course in the 1970s before being a Zig Ziglar fan was even cool. So we go way, way back. In the 1980s, I got to meet Zig. I was going to Dallas Theological Seminary, which in and of itself was an experience. And we went to church at First Baptist Dallas because Zig taught a Sunday school class. And we walked into his Sunday school class. You'll never guess what the name of it was. It was called the auditorium class. And the reason it was called the auditorium class is there was not one room big enough for everybody to go to his class. There were over 500 families in the Sunday school class. So I was going there, and I got to meet Zig up close and talk to him and spend time with he and Jean, the family. And of course, Tom was just, a lot younger then. And what was so amazing to me was as things unfolded, Tom, you remember those days, long time ago, the class needed a class pastor. And I was in seminary at the time, and the reason it needed a class pastor, Zig was the class teacher. And he would show up on Sundays and teach, and then he would leave. And my daughters, I have 4 daughters, they used to sit in Zig's lap in church. And my daughter Esther said, "Dad, Zig doesn't talk. He growls." I thought that's true about Zig. They would imitate him. We had such a great time together. So in the 70s, I was teaching the I Can course. Watch this. How many of you even know what the I Can course is? Say, boy, Lori, that goes way back, doesn't it? That was a can. And you'd put eyes, pictures of eyes that you would cut out of magazines. The can, I'm not making this up. Lori, is this the truth? There would be a can, like a pork and bean can size that you could put a lid on and cut a slit in it. And you would get eyeballs, pictures of eyes that you would cut out of magazines and tape them. All of my students had cans. And then you would write your goals and dreams and things, and you would put them in there. It was a fabulous time. I really enjoyed doing that. And that's probably before some of you were born, in the 70s. And then in the 80s, getting to meet him and work as the class pastor. Well, over 500 families Zig would teach, and then he would be gone. But something happened one Wednesday night. I'm just kind of warming up here to let you know how much I love and honor and respect Zig. I was green, I was young, I was a long time ago. We had a Bible study on Wednesday night, and Zig and Gene and other people in the class would come, and I would teach it. And Zig would always sit like right on the first row or up close to the front. And he would always sit there and write. And so one Wednesday night, we were standing in the parking lot, and I was talking to him. I said, Zig, are you working on a book? And he said, well, yeah, I'm always working on a book. And he said, why do you ask? And I said, well, I just noticed you was writing a lot tonight. And he looked at me and he said, no, I was taking notes on what you were saying. Y'all, you could have thumped me and I would have fainted. I said, you're Zig Ziglar, I'm nobody. Why would you write down anything that I say? He said, well, first of all, it's true. And second of all, it's good. And third of all, they're going to make great stories in my book. I said, in your book? He was a great man. And then in the 90s, we got to, this is just how, I was thinking about Howard and Tom this morning and how, listen, the greatest strategy for life you will ever experience is called one thing leads to another. Just get on the right path. And as you're on the right path, you being in the way, you will be led and you will be guided. And things will happen that you couldn't figure out in a million years. There were people who would die to get to be on an Amway stage, Dexter Yeager's Amway stage. I didn't even know who he was. I was in a whole different circle. And come to find out, a buddy of mine who was walking his dog at night called me and he said, hey, you want to walk your dog with me? And we started walking our dogs. His dog was named Polo. My dog was named Mickey. And we would walk our dogs. He had a Cocker Spaniel. I had a Lhasa Apso. And Richard and I would talk and we would walk and dream. And he said, I want to introduce you to the Yeagers. And I said, who are the Yeagers? He said, well, they have this small business, this Amway business. And he said, they'll just love you. So I went up there and I worked with Internet Services Corporation. They had 200 or 300 employees. It was a mess. Their business was a mess because they didn't know anything about personalities and they didn't have people in the positions that they were best suited to do. I never like to say you're the wrong person for this job, but I believe it may be the wrong job for this person. Does that make sense? Because I don't think you're the wrong person, but it may be the wrong job, the wrong task. So I went up there and worked with them for 2 or 3 years, did assessments on everybody, got the organization up and running. Doyle met with me one day and he said, well, I got good news and bad news. He said, the bad news is the good news is we don't have any more problems in our business. Everything's running like a fine oil machine. He said, the bad news is we don't need your services anymore. He said, but we do have another business that we might be interested in. And he said, so would you be interested in working with us in our Amway business, not their internet services business, which was another whole fulfillment house. So I said, I have more confidence than I have ability. So I just said, sure, I'm happy to do that. And so I spoke that fall, and it was in the early 90s at 4 Weekend of the Diamonds, 2 Go Diamonds, a free enterprise. And almost overnight, I had 1 million customers. Do you know there's only one thing worse than having no business? It's having too much business and not being able to take care of it. And I've been running as hard as I can, as fast as I can, 24 hours a day since 1991, just trying to, people ask me, why have we never heard of you? Well, I had this one account that kind of kept me busy. I've been around the world 7 times with the Amway organization, with Dexter just passed away just a few weeks ago. My wife and I went to South Carolina to Dexter's funeral. We were in the seat, I don't know how it happened, we were in the seat of honor. Next to us was the second seat. The governor of South Carolina and his wife were there, sitting next to my wife, April. And there were 1,000 people there at this event, and everybody there was a millionaire. And everybody there was there because of Dexter Yeager. Shows you how one life. And then I think he has 17 grandkids. And you know what the grandkids, every one of them spoke at his funeral. And each one of them came up and read one of their grandfather's favorite Bible verses. It was the funeral lasted 4 hours. It was the longest funeral I was ever in. And I was sad to see it end. Why am I telling you all this? Because you're not smart enough to figure out how to run your own life. You're not smart enough how to figure out how to meet the right people and make the right connections. That's not the way life works. The way life works is just do the next right thing. And when you do, that's the motto for life. If you have those 6 words, I'd burn them, I'd put them on a 3x5 card. That's the way life works. Those 6 words, just do the next right thing. And if you do the next, I didn't say the next best thing. I didn't say the next most manipulative thing. Just do sometimes the next right thing is I'm going to brush my teeth, put on my pajamas, and go to bed and get a good night's sleep, because that's what you need. But then sometimes it's get up early and make some phone calls. Sometimes it's talk to people. Go out of your way to be nice to someone. Nobody is smart enough to have a map that says this is what you need to do all the time. But if you say, I'm just going to do the next right thing. I was in the back seat. I just feel, I'm getting off my topic, but I just feel led to share this with you. I was in the back seat of the car with Zig in 1992. We were the 2 guest speakers at Chick-fil-A's International Convention. We were at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. How many ever heard of the Greenbrier? There's a place, I don't know if I ought to tell this, but I'm a high I and I have no secrets. So there's a tunnel that runs under Washington, D.C. all the way to the Greenbrier in case there's ever a national emergency for the president and for other people to be cared for during times of national emergency. I learned a lot of amazing things. I've seen a lot of things. I'm educated way beyond my intelligence. PhD stands for piled higher and deeper. So I just kept going and leaning forward and hoping I'd fall across the finish line. Zig and I were in a car, and this was 1992. I had started my business in 1991, and something happened inside of my heart that really bothered me. It's like I really became money driven. I became money conscious. It was like, here's what went through my mind. You got payroll coming up. You got rent. You have insurance. All these things were just churning in my head because I had a lot of expenses. And I didn't know how to make it stop. So I was in the back seat of a car with Zig, and I said, Zig, I'm worried about me. He said, what's wrong? And I said, well, Zig, I don't want to be this way. But I said, all I think about is money. I go to bed thinking about money. And I get up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, I'm thinking about money, and I get back awake the next day. I said, it's just like it's eating me alive, and I don't worship it. I don't want to be this way, but I don't know how to make that stop. And I'll never forget what he said. Zig looked at me and he said, never chase money because you'll never catch it. It's too fast. He said, let me tell you what to chase. Chase helping people, and money will chase you. I got my little notepad out and I wrote as fast as I could, just like some of you are doing right now. And I wrote down, never chase money. It's too fast. You'll never catch it. It'll always be one step ahead of you. Or you might get the tail end of it a little bit, but you won't get the full force of it. He said, don't chase money. It's too fast. You'll never catch it. Here's what you chase. He said, rather chase helping people, and money will chase you. So I went to bed that night and I thought, well, what I'm doing is not working, so this can't hurt. So I just prayed and I said, God, help me to stop chasing money. I've been trying to make this die down inside of me and it's not working. So I'm just going to ask you, would you help me to change my focus? I didn't mean to get off the path. I just ended up being here because every time you turn around, y'all know Zig's great saying. Zig used to say, money's not everything, but it's pretty close to oxygen. You've heard that. Well, that's true. You kind of have to need it for almost everything you have, for everything that you do. So what I ended up doing was I said, God, help me to start chasing people. I slept through the night. I woke up the next morning, and here's what went through my head. I have 1 million new customers. And it's a little overwhelming. So I'm just going to try my best to figure out how to start chasing, helping people. And so I made it through the day, and then I realized the next night, I slept through the night. And what happened, it didn't happen just all automatically, but in the next few days, weeks, months, the whole idea of money just vanished. It just disappeared. It's like that's not even something that's even on the radar anymore. Just chase helping people. If you have the attitude, I just want to help as many people as I possibly can, all of a sudden some things are going to happen in your life. You're going to see the difference. I remember asking Zig questions that would help me in the early days. I can even remember, this goes way back, Tom coming to my office one day when he was starting his video yearbook. So, you remember that? Oh, that was some exciting times. Helped Tom. He was young, getting started. So we had so many interactions. I was with Zig one day at lunch. And see, you just had to kind of be in the right place at the right time like you are today. A guy walked over to the table. Zig and I were eating at, I think it was Highland Park Cafeteria here in Dallas. A guy walked over to Zig and he said, Zig, do you know John Jones? And Zig said, I sure do. And the guy said, what kind of person is he? Zig said, well, I don't know. I've never had any financial dealings with him. And they talked for a few minutes, and the guy turned around and walked off. And I said, Zig, I was so young. I said, Zig, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. I said, he asked you if you knew John Jones, and you said yes. And then he said, what kind of person is he? And you said, I don't know. I've never had any financial dealings with him. He didn't even ask you anything about money. Why did you answer that way? Zig said, because you've never met the real person until you have financial dealings with them. And they say that's wisdom at its best. I got out my little notepad that I always carry with me. When I die, somebody ought to reach in my back pocket and get this. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. And I just wrote, I know some of y'all are like, Dr. Holmes, you have a cell phone? Don't you know you can take, I know, but this works, you know. I just thought, that's so powerful to know. And I love the fact that Howard and Tom were talking about, you know why their business relationship works? You know why it works? Because the money aspect works because they are the real person. So when you deal with financial issues and you're dealing with money, then you meet the real person. And when you can be real and honest and have integrity when it comes to money, everything else is just a piece of cake after that. So I'm just really honored to be here today. And so what I want to do, this is, wow, this is going to be interesting because I have about a 4-hour talk and I only have an hour and a half to do it in. But I've got to, and Jorge, it was great being with you in Gainesville last week. You're going to get to hear this. You know, sometimes what you heard and what you say, people get mixed up. How many of you have ever been as clear as you could about something and people mess it up? They get it confused. And well, I read this other day and I thought this right here may be all of our lives. Are you ready? A school superintendent met with the assistant superintendent and he gave him an announcement that he was to make to all the school principals. He said, this is what I want you to say word for word to all the school principals. Here's what the superintendent said to the assistant superintendent. Next Thursday at 10:30 a.m., Halley's Comet will appear over this area. This is an event which occurs only once every 75 years. Call the school principals and have them assemble their teachers and classes on the athletic field and explain this phenomenon to them. If it rains, cancel the day's activities and have the classes meet in the auditorium to see a film about the comet. That's what the superintendent said to the assistant superintendent, who is to pass that message along word for word to the school principals. Here's what the school principals heard from the assistant superintendent. By order of the superintendent of schools, next Thursday at 10:30 a.m., Halley's Comet will appear over your athletic field. If it rains, cancel the day's classes and report to the auditorium with your teachers and students where you'll be shown films, a phenomenal event which occurs only once every 75 years. Well, the principals were supposed to pass that message along to their teachers word for word. Here's what the teachers heard. By order of the phenomenal superintendent of schools, at 10:30 a.m. next Thursday, Halley's Comet will appear in your school auditorium. In case of rain on the athletic field, the superintendent will give another order, something which occurs only once every 75 years. The teachers were asked to pass that message along to the students, word for word. Here's what the students heard. Next Thursday at 10:30 a.m., the superintendent of schools will appear in our school auditorium with Halley's Comet. Something which occurs only once every 75 years. If it rains, the superintendent of schools will cancel the comet and have us all meet on our phenomenal athletic field. And the students were supposed to take that message home and give it to their parents. And many of us who are parents have been on the receiving end of the messages that we wondered what exactly was the message supposed to be. Here's what the parents heard. When it rains next Thursday at 10:30 a.m. over the school athletic field, the phenomenal 75-year-old superintendent of schools will cancel all classes and will appear before the whole school in the auditorium accompanied by Bill Haley and the Comets. You got to wonder about stuff like that, don't you? On your table, I want you just to take a quick look. We passed out 4 little gifts. If you didn't get them, they're on your table. We'll give them to you a little bit later. There's a bookmark that looks like this. Would everybody get the little bookmark and hold it up? They're on your table. We've got plenty of them. If somebody didn't get one, trust me, we got a gazillion of them. Here's what I want you to do. Look at it and see if you can read it. Everybody just look straight at it and see if you can read it. Everybody hold it up and look at it. And then after a little while, when you realize you can't read it, here's what I want you to do. Lay it flat and try to read across it. What does it say? When you see it, what does it say? Once you see it, you got it. Now watch, this didn't change. What did change? It's my perspective. Oh, I see. I needed to look at this a different way. What we're going to do today real quickly is learn how to see things from a different perspective. So let me ask you a question. How many of you this is your first event like this? First with Howard and Tom, first Ziglar event. Can I see you? Okay. Here's what we had to make the decision. Howard and I talked about this as to whether or not to start this session with what we call divide the room. How many of you have been in a session where we're dividing the room? How many like to do that again? Yeah. All right, everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Don't worry about all your junk. Nobody's going to bother your stuff. Well, wait a minute. Can I ask y'all a question? How many of you have never stolen anything in your whole life? Not even a grape from the grocery store. You've never stolen anything ever. How many of you have never told a lie in your whole life? Not even a little small one. Okay, listen, on second thought, you ought to watch your stuff. Because everybody here is an admitted liar and thief. Okay? So that's just having fun with you. Suppose you and I were to go sit down and have a cup of coffee, have a Coke, we're talking, getting to know each other, and I ask you, where are you from? You married? You got kids? The kinds of questions we all ask each, how's it going? Who's your favorite team? Have you been on vacation? Where do you like to travel? And we just talk to each other. And then I said this, do you feel like you're more of an outgoing kind of person, or are you more of a reserved type of person? You would look at me and say, wow, I don't know. I think I have some of both of those traits. And I would look at you and say, isn't that true? We all do. But if you had to lean one way or the other, you can change your mind later on. It may be 51%, 49%. You're not locked in for life. You can change. How many of you would say, between those two, here's how you can tell an outgoing person, their motor inside sounds like this. Run, run, run. They're ready. You say, for what? It doesn't matter. Anything. A reserve type, their motor sounds like this. And if they get excited, they just are easygoing. One's not right or wrong, one's not good or bad. If I get ready to go to Atlanta Braves game, I prefer to go with someone more outgoing. I don't have to drag them through the stadium. Get your hot dog, get your peanut, get your Coke, let's go sit down. That's fine. But when I'm getting ready to have surgery, I want someone who's more reserved. Okay, I don't want to hear, roll him in here, I got a 2 o'clock tea time, let's go, I got things to do. Boy, I had both my hips replaced last year. I had the highest C doctor in the whole world. Even the morning of the surgery, he came in with a blue pen and wrote 1, 2. And I'm thinking, does he not know where my hips are? I'm just wondering. And I said, what's that about? He said, that's the order in which I'm going to do them. He's brilliant, very reserved, very calm, and easygoing. One's not right or wrong. One's not good or bad. They're just different. How many of you raise your hand and say, I think I'm more outgoing? Can I see your hand? All right. How many of you say, I think I'm more reserved? Can I see your hands? Thanks. I just wish someday before I die, I'm going to have somebody, Santi, maybe you, to have a camera and scan that and then show it. Because all the outgoing types go, all the reserved types go. I used to think your personality affects about 95% of what you do. I've changed my mind. It's 99%. If you said outgoing, come on down to the front of the room, all the way across. If you said reserved, move on to the back. Real quickly, all the way to the front. You're doing great. Reserved, all the way to the back. Hey, hi, Ellen. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. You know which direction.
Absolutely. You're up there. Watch where you're going. Take your time. Let's see if I can darken. I was going to darken. Santi, can you darken the screen for me? Just that way it's not. Oh, thank y'all. Okay, did you notice anything? All of this group went down here and started talking to each other, having real, interaction. All of you went and stood back there like this. Now watch, this is where all human interaction begins. I've done this on 6 continents. This isn't particular to America. This is all over the world. When I'm talking to you, I'm going to talk a little louder and a little faster because I know all of you have the attention span of a gnat. So I've got to, they're waving, they're not paying attention. Howard, don't distract me. All of you are full of life and energy. They're not even listening to me now. They're just already off cue. Howard, this is my show here now. And that's just the way they're wired. So I'm going to talk to them louder and a little quicker and make sure that I can stay connected. But if I continued to talk to all of you that same way, that same speed, you would feel uncomfortable. You would think, why are you yelling at me? Why are you so mad? So when I talk to you, and I can read this, but I can also ask you as we're having lunch or talking, do you feel like you're more outgoing or more reserved? People like talking. They'll say, I have some of both. Isn't that true? We all do. But I feel like I'm a little more reserved. Thanks for sharing that with me. So when I talk to you, I slow it down and I talk softer because I want to connect with you. I want you to feel like I care about you, like I'm listening to you, and you're safe. However, watch, if I continued to talk to all of you that same way, they're going to sleep, they're not listening. Somebody said it's boring. Do you see that? This is where human interaction starts. Listen, I got my PhD at the University of North Texas. I took a whole course on mirroring behavior. I took a course on if they lean to the left, you lean to the left. If they cross their arms, you cross their arms. If they lean forward, you lean forward. Because that's the way you connect with people. There's a Greek word that describes that whole phenomena, and it's called baloney, okay? That is not the way you connect with people, but I didn't know. I listened to the class, took the notes, passed the test, and got my degree. The way you connect with people is you look in their eyes, you talk to them a little while, and if you read they're more outgoing, pick it up, a little louder, get to the point, quit circling, land. And if you read they're more reserved, calm it down. And you will create a climate. You'll engineer an environment. You will attain an atmosphere. We got a new one this morning in connecting with people. That's question number one. Question number two. Stay on your ends of the room. Do you feel like you're more task-oriented or are you more people-oriented? A task-oriented person likes to do things. Make a list. Check it off. Be efficient. Let's go. Someone who's people-oriented likes to socialize and caring and sharing and making sure we're all getting along together. Here's how you can tell the difference. If you're task-oriented and everything got done, but a few people got their feelings hurt and quit, you sit there and say, hey, we got the job done, didn't we? And that's what's important. Everything else, just collateral damage. If you're people-oriented and you got everything done, but some people got their feelings hurt and quit, you say, listen, I'm really glad we got everything done. I'm grateful. However, I feel like a dog. I mean, there are people who got their feelings hurt. There are people who got left out. I'm glad we got everything done, and yay for us. That's important. But I just hate it that some people feel like they were not loved and cared for. That would be the one who's more people-oriented. So stay on your ends of the room and ask yourself, am I more task-oriented or am I more people-oriented? Everybody here has some of those traits, and it may be 51% and 49%. You're not locked in for life, and you can change your mind at lunch today. But how many of you would say, between those two, I think I'm more task-oriented? Can I see your hands? Thanks, put them down. How many of you would say, I think I'm more people-oriented? Can I see your hands? Thanks, put them down. Now watch, stay on your ends of the room. But if you said task-oriented, get over on this side. If you said people-oriented, get over on this side. Everybody move. You're doing great. You're doing great. Keep on moving. Keep on moving down. Tighten it up a little bit. Move down just a couple of steps so I can distinguish. There you go. All right. Here we go. All right. Now watch. Everybody here, first of all, look around your ankles. Nobody's chained anywhere. You're not locked in. You'll be able to move around. if you don't mind, just stay where you are because you're going to have an opportunity to be in other groups as you'll see. So let's review. Outgoing and task-oriented. Outgoing and people-oriented. One of the most dangerous things you'll ever see me do in an organizational meeting is get this group together. It's just scary. Reserved and people-oriented. And reserved and task-oriented. Now, I know two things about you because you've shared them with me. I don't think I've asked anything offensive. I haven't asked anything overly personal. We're just having lunch. We're having a Coke, a cup of coffee, and I ask you where you're from. You married, you got kids, you travel, you like sports. And then I throw in, do you feel like you're more outgoing or reserved, more task or people? And you share that with me as we're talking. Now I know two things about everybody in this room, and I can tell you your whole life story. Let's see how I do. This is called the dominant type. Your attitude is be a leader, be a follower, or get out of my way. You are what's called a natural born leader. Everything you've ever touched, you want to own it, control it, run it, and be in charge of it. The happiest day of your parents' life was the day you left home. Because their parents finally got their house back. The thing that's so amazing is that you just have this sixth sense about you of, come on, let's get going. Let's make things happen. I want to quit circling land. Let's go. You have that in spades. It's because that's your personality style. You are very driven. You like to make things happen. You get very frustrated when things are going nowhere. You like things going somewhere with a purpose. You have a secret fuel. I'm going to tell you what your fuel is. Everybody's got a different fuel. Watch how this works. When I talk to you about your fuel is what makes you run. It's what makes you operate. It's what motivates you. If you have a vehicle and it's an unleaded engine, you have to put unleaded fuel. If it's a diesel engine, you have to put diesel fuel. You have to give it what it needs. My body needs fuel, but it doesn't need a diesel fuel. It doesn't need unleaded fuel, gas. Maybe water would be a good fuel that I could use that would help the engine to run. Have you ever had a day where at the end of the day you just felt this way? Oh, I just feel drained. I just feel like nothing happened today. Today just never got started. We've all had days like that. Why is that? Because you're not getting your fuel. You're not getting your needs met. I'm going to tell you what your fuel is. If you agree when I tell you, just give me a thumbs up or wave. If you're getting this fuel in your business, in your marriage, at job, home, school, church, work, play, if this is happening, something inside of you is going, whoa! This is a good day. But if it's not happening, you feel, oh, why won't anything work? You feel drained. Tell me if you agree. Your secret fuel is getting results. Now watch how I talk to them. Hey, listen, you don't have to babysit me. I'm going to go take care of this. I'm all about it and I'm all on it. Now I'll run it past you after I find out everything I'm looking for. I just want to get this done. I want to bring it to you and let you check it out. Then we'll move ahead with the next project. Do you like the way I'm talking to you? Yes. Why do you think they like the way I'm talking to them? I'm speaking their language. That's right. And everybody's got a different one. So we're going to do two things. We're going to help you understand your style, and we're going to help you learn what the other style's needs are, what they're feeling and thinking, so we can build better teams and have better relationships. Let's give a big hand to the dominant type. Moving right along. This is called the inspiring type. This is the happiest group of people in the room here, in the whole room today. This is the group that has all their marbles, but their shooters missing. These are the happiest people, full of life and energy. Some people graduated magna cum laude. Some graduated summa cum laude. This group graduated, thank the Lord. Because they didn't really go to school to learn anything. They went to school to meet their friends, have lunch, recess, sports. I'm curious, how many of you were a math or a science major? A math or a science major, okay. How many of you, whether it's middle school, high school, or college, you were involved in clubs, sports, or extracurricular activities? How did I know that? Because that's why they went to school. They're fun, they're exciting. Some people graduate magna cum laude, some graduate summa cum laude. This group graduated, thank the Lord, like I just said. Now, sometimes my tongue gets behind my eye teeth and I can't see what I'm saying. You are full of life. You're full of energy, but you have a different fuel. And you also are different in regards to this group over here. Remember what I said? The happiest day of their parents' life was the day they left home. The saddest day of your parents' life was the day you left home, because all the fun left. You're the spark plug. You're the energy. You're the one who's exciting, but you have a different fuel. I'm going to tell you what your fuel is. If you're getting this fuel at work, at school, at home, or play, woo! Everything feels better and thinks better. But if you're not getting, it can be a long day. Your secret fuel, tell me if you agree, having fun. Watch, don't miss it. Are you ready? Having fun. Having fun while you're getting results. Did you notice that? See, they like to have fun as long as there's for a purpose. As long as there's some reason. Watch how I talk to this group. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to have the best time. I love coming to these meetings. We get to see each other. We get to talk. We have to lunch together. It's just so much fun. We're going to have a great time. And we'll be able, maybe we can eat together, or we can talk and share email address and cell phone numbers and all. They have a great time. Do y'all like the way I'm talking to you? That's their language. I know some of you are standing there going, I'm not going to be able to do this. You have to work at learning what their needs are and how to meet them. So I know if I'm talking to you, we're going to have fun. They've got questions right now. And when we get through, we'll all have a big selfie of this group right here. We're going to do two things. We're going to help you understand your style better and help you learn the other styles to get what they have, so you'll build better teams and have better relationships. Let's give a big hand to the inspiring type. Moving right along. This is the group that's reserved and people-oriented. If you've noticed, I've changed my tone, my tempo. Everything's different because I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel loved and cared about. This group here, more than any group here in the room, will be able to demonstrate how you feel to the other groups better than anyone's here today. Would you reach out and grab hands with the person beside you, please? Everybody reach out, grab a hand. Are you ready? Look here at me. Let's sway together over this. We are the champions, my friend. We keep on fighting to the end. You know what they're all thinking? That felt so good. You know what this group's thinking? Why didn't we get to do that? That looked like fun. We could move the tables, play a little Red Rover. You know what this group's thinking? Don't ask us to hold hands. I tried that one time. I didn't like it. I got somebody's hand. It was sticky. I'm not doing that again. You are the heart of the organization. Over here we got the power, the control, the mind. Over here the excitement, the fun, the energy, the enthusiasm. Over here the heart. You just, remember what I said, the happiest day of their parents' life was the day they left home. The saddest day of their parents' life was the day they left home. This group here, they haven't left home. They just want to make sure mama's okay and everybody's fine. Love, you are the heart, you're the love. When I talk to you, see if you like the way I so appreciate all that you do. And if you have anything that you need to talk about or that you want to share with me, the door to my office and my life is open. I want you to know we can talk, you can share. I want you to be real. This is the only life that we have on this earth, and so I want you to know, let's make it count together. Do you like the way I'm talking to you? I hope you're listening over there, because all of us are going to see in a minute, wow, I've got to learn a few new things. See, when I'm talking to you, I know what's going on inside of you. Watch this. I know what you dislike, probably more than anything else. You dislike conflict. You don't want conflict. Conflict shuts you down. And when conflict's all around you, you can't be your best. You can't do your best. You can't function because it's like, I don't know, there's a dark cloud hanging over me. I recognize that. That's why you have two fuels. Two. It took me a little while to learn how to do this. When I'm talking to you, coaching you, raising you, interacting with you, selling to you, I recognize you have two fuels. If you're getting these fuels, everything's better. But if you're not getting these fuels, everything's worse. Tell me if you agree, your two fuels are peace and harmony. You know, see something funny? Watch this. No, I'm not even going to. So I want to make sure when I'm talking to you, I'm thinking peace and harmony, love, careful, let them have time to process. Notice, if you would, the sweetest, most beautiful girl in the world, my wife, waved to me. She's over in this group. I have learned, watch, I'm going to be honest with you, knowing this group and working with this group has made me a better person. Because I know they have a heart of gold and they love people. I need more of what you have. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to help you understand your style and help the other three groups get some of what they have so you can have a bigger heart, make more sales. Listen, of all the people you'll work with, they're the most loyal. And if you have them as customers, they'll stay with you forever. So we're going to be talking about how to connect with them and how they can get some of the other things to build better teams and have better relationships. Let's give a big hand to the supportive type. And finally, the group over here that's reserved and task-oriented, you're called the cautious type. This is the smartest group of people in the room here today. I'm just curious, how many of you middle school, high school, or college, you graduated with some kind of honors, or you're on the honor roll? Could I see your hands? How many of you math, science, computers, those are your favorite things over here? How many of you, nah, don't worry about it. You are just smart. You like to, the number one question that's on your mind right now is, did I get in the right group? I feel like he rushed me into this decision. I needed more time to have a reliability and a validity study. We have some who are defecting over here. You are the ones, and it's not your fault. You were the group when I started learning about this about 30-something years ago, almost 40 years ago now. You were the group that I had the hardest time understanding. I could understand it academically, but I wanted to understand it emotionally. I wanted to get inside of me so I could really connect with you, because you have three fuels. Three, yeah. If you're getting these three fuels, something inside of you thinks and feels good day. But if you're not getting these three fuels, oh, I'm drained. Tell me if you agree. These three things make everything in your life, business, family, relationships, everything goes better if you're getting quality answers, value, and being correct. Watch it. No, I'm not going to do it. They don't know what that is. You remember what I said? The happiest day of their parents' life was the day they left home. The saddest day of their parents' life was the day they left home. This group here hasn't left home. This group bought their parents' house and are renting it back to them. Yeah, you get good residual income. You don't have to go through probate. It's a lot better. It makes a lot more sense. You are just smart. And by learning, watch carefully, I'm going to be talking to you. Listen, would it be possible for me to share back with you what I think you said? I want to be sure I got this right. So I want to say back to you. And then also, you said a couple of things that were really important. I want to jot those down to be sure I get this right. I don't want to mess this up. And then after I get through going over it with me, if I didn't get it exactly right, please help me, because I want to make sure that this is accurate and right, and I'm able to accomplish what I'm doing by the things that you told me. Do you like the way I'm talking to you? That almost killed me to do that. Because I'm not wired that way. What I want to do is say, this is a no-brainer. Get fired up. A no-brainer to that group? That's the wrong thing to say. Get fired up? That's not what they need. What they need is quality answers and value and learning how to be correct. So we're going to do two things. We're going to help you understand your style, and we're going to help you get some of the other things, the results and the fun and the peace and harmony that the other groups have to build better teams, have better relationships. Let's give a big hand to the cautious type. Two more things, and I'm going to let you sit down. Everybody hold your finger up like this. When I say three, I want you to point to the group that if you could no longer be in your group, it would have been the group that you would have moved to next, or it would have been your second choice. Not the group where you see somebody you like, not the group where you think, well, I need some of that, but the group if you said, if I had to move out of my group, like some have already done, if I had to move out of my group and move to the group that would have been my second choice, that's the group I want you to point to when I say three. Now, I already know what's going on inside of you right now. This group's thinking, just let us point, for Pete's sake. This isn't hard. I can do it. This group's thinking, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This group's thinking, I'll stay here all day if I need to, because Dr. Rome likes me and I like him. And And we're friends, and whatever he wants to do, I'm ready to just move along with him as the day proceeds. And this group's thinking, isn't it impolite to point in public? I thought my mother said, ready? The group that would have been your second choice. 1, 2, 3, point. Everybody point. Now here's the thing about it. This never fails. I've done this on 6 continents. Say, I know what I'm looking at. Keep pointing. I knew this was going to happen. How do I know it? Watch. How many of you over here are pointing that way? Raise them up, put them down. How many of you over here are pointing that way? Thanks, put them down. How many are pointing this way? How many of you over here are pointing that way? Thanks, put them down. How many of you over here are pointing that way? Thanks, put them down. How many are pointing this way? How many of you over here are pointing that way? Thanks, put them down. How many are pointing this way? Thanks, put them down. How many are pointing this way? That was either way is okay with me. How many of you over here pointing that way? Thanks, put them down. How many pointing this way? Thanks, put them down. How many pointing this way? Did y'all notice anything? Did you notice anything? I've done this on 6 continents. It's phenomenal. It's remarkable to me. This is not a coincidence. This is the way you were wired by the Creator. He knows exactly what He's doing. Watch. Everybody here pointed to a group. Over 99% of you pointed to a group right beside you. That's because your personality has a flow to it. It has a blend. My strongest trait is over here. This is where I enjoy life the most. However, I would have pointed over here because in the place you pointed to second is called your secondary trait, and it's usually where you go when you start to get under pressure. For me, here's what it looks like. I'm having a good time. I'm laughing. Everything's great. But something all of a sudden says, do you have enough handouts? What time does it start? When does the plane leave? Have you already met her? And so I tend to get stress. It starts kicking in. Now watch, if I don't know that I have a secondary trait, I would tend to go to my secondary trait more out of control than under control. I would come over here and maybe get pushy or harsh. I got stuff to do. Leave me alone. But if I go over here under control, okay, take a deep breath. You're going to get it done. It may take a little bit more work. Be nice to people. And then after they're gone, you can call the airlines. You can go online. You can get this straightened out. Stay under control. I know how to work with me. My third trait that I flow to is, we're going to see this. I got a handout for you. Is over here. There's something inside of me that says, be good to people. This is what it's about. Life isn't about how much money you make, although money's nice. Life isn't about how popular you are. Oh, it's nice to have friends. Life's about loving people, having relationships, and caring and sharing and making a difference. So I know how to do that. But over here, it becomes a struggle. That's why I have to say, wait a minute, let me write this down. Let me double check this. This works for me because it helps me protect me from me. It helps give me guidance and direction because I don't have to trust my memory. I can trust my notes. So I have found a way to work with me in order to be successful. Now, I told you we were going to do 2 things. That was the first one. Here's the second one. I'm going to let you go sit down according to personality style. We're going to practice and watch this. It may be the first time in your whole life you've seen an audience actually be treated and worked with according to their personality. The first group that gets to sit down, because they're so nice and kind and loving. And we could be here for hours while they go, you go ahead. It's okay. I don't mind. I wasn't in a hurry. A big hand to the supportive type. The next group that gets to sit down. It only makes sense to do things decently and in order, following procedure to get the maximum amount of effective energy and efficiency as quickly as possible. A big hand to the cautious type. The next group that gets to sit down, because I don't want to get beaten up, is the dominant type. And I saved all of you for lunch and a selfie after the meeting. A big hand to the inspiring type. All right, everybody work back to your seats and we get ready to crank. Don't leave the room. You'll miss everything. Y'all help me pass some of these out. There are handouts coming around over here. Everybody needs one. They're coming around. You've not seen this one before. It says insights and tips into personality style. Everybody got one? Raise your hand if you still need one. They're coming around. They've got them right here. Right here. We got plenty. They're coming. Put your name on the top. Put your name on the top. That way you'll know you have a pen that works. Raise your hand if you need one. They're coming around right here. We got one for everybody. Anybody got any extras at their table? If we got any, we still got more. Here's some right here. Raise your hand if you need one. They're trying to make this go quickly as possible. Over here. We got some more right over here. Over here. Raise your hand if you still need one. Bob, if you would. Over here, we need a few more. We got some coming. We got them coming over here. We got another handful. Put your name, today's date, May 2nd. May 2nd. Put that on the top. Everybody got one. They're coming. We got them right here. May 2nd. Put your name. Oh, you're doing great. Thank y'all so much. Now, if you'll notice on the very first page on the inside, you will see what we call the model of human behavior. If you don't mind, would you circle the exclamation point? It's right in the middle above the D. Then circle the star. Circle the plus and minus sign and circle the questions. Those are their symbols. The symbols that represent the different personalities. The exclamation point. Do it. Make it happen. Let's go. The star. The star of the show, bright and exciting. There's no business like show business. The plus and minus, more or less. Either way is okay with me. And the C, the question mark, are you sure this is right? Did I get in the right group? Let's go through here. Go up into the D area. We're going to talk about the style and make sure to understand it. D's are dominant. Jot down your words. They are direct. They're demanding. These are the words that describe this particular personality type. They're very decisive. They are determined. They may be lost on a trip, but they're making good time, and that's very important. So they will be moving along. These are the words that describe this personality type. They also are a doer. They're not a talker. They like to be involved in things. They like to make things happen. They are a doer. It is amazing to me to recognize the difference in personality styles. And all of them are very different. We're going to be showing you this today. Last word, this is where they get in trouble. This is the last word in every list. This group sometimes is defiant. They don't realize it, and I honor them and respect them. But this group that was over here, they kind of walk through life kind of like this. They just have that aura about them. I'm not afraid of anybody. You want to go out in the parking lot and fight? Let's go. I'm not. They just wired. They're just on everything. And what they have to recognize, I always say there's two clues that will help them. Number one, there is a God, and it isn't you. And that always helps them. And I know they always sit here and think, yeah, but I could be assistant God if he needs help. I'm available. That's just the way they're wired. Let's go to the upper right-hand side. This group is inspiring, influencing. Charts. They are impressive. They like to sparkle and they like to shine. They are interactive. That's why I said they had a best friend at home, a best friend at school, a best friend at work, a best friend on the elevator. If you meet them here at this conference, you've never met them before, they may say, oh, let me get your email address. Oh, let me get your cell phone number. And because I want to stay in touch with you. When you leave, you'll never hear from them again as long as you live. They are very interesting. I mean, it's like, that's why I said they've got all their marbles, but their shooter's missing. They're crazy. They are involved. Sign me up. School is the most difficult place they ever go because school really wasn't designed for them. School was more designed for the C-type personality. Sports, extracurricular activities, fun, that's what this group is all. They're all about cheerleading and sports and involvement in everything that takes place. Last word, illogical. This is where they get in trouble. They have a hard time with long-term planning. They have a hard time with making sure they're thinking things through. You know, when they start their term paper that was assigned 6 weeks ago, the night before it's due, They stay up all night, get it finished, drop it on the teacher's desk with an attitude of, you're so unfair. I had to stay up all night to get that finished. Little do they realize they put it all 5 weeks and 6 days. If they had started sooner, they would have had some more time and space. That was a little illogical. You know what's funny? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because many of you already know this and you are aware of it. But recognizing that personality styles are different. The first chart I ever saw, this is my oldest daughter, Rachel. Rachel's a D-C personality. D is her highest trait. C is her second trait. If she were here this morning, she would be in this group. She would have pointed back there. She's a doubly task-oriented person. You see where I got doubly task? Task D, task C. She's very task. Look at her I. Her I and her S traits are low. She's more task-oriented than people-oriented. People ask me, the number one question I'm asked, how'd you get interested in personality information? Right here. In 1985, I was living in Dallas, working with Zig, going to seminary, and Rachel was 12 years old. And I loved her. She's my firstborn daughter. She's the first little girl to come to me and call me daddy. I loved her. But for 12 years, I noticed she's difficult. And I didn't know exactly what was wrong, but something was wrong. You ever had something wrong and you didn't know what it was? That's your biggest problem of all. I knew we had a problem. I just didn't know what it was. She's so difficult. Everything was hard, everything. So a friend of mine was passing through Dallas one night. He ate dinner with us. He asked me, we're sitting on the back porch. He said to me, I'll never forget, he looked at me, he said, what's wrong with you? I said, what do you mean? He said, I can just tell you're down, you're not yourself. And I said, it's Rachel. He said, what has she done? I said, I don't know. Having a problem and not knowing what it is? He said, and just like this, talking about being in the right place at the right time, you're ready. There's an old Chinese proverb, it goes like this, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Boy, I believe that. I've seen that happen over and over and over. When the students are, you know why y'all are here at this conference? You're ready. When the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And so he was on my back porch, had dinner with us. So just like this, he said, have you ever given Rachel a personality profile assessment? He said that like he'd been waiting his whole life to say that. Have you ever given Rachel a personality profile assessment? I said, what is that? This was 1985. I didn't know what that was. I can hardly believe it was 34 years ago. He said, where's Rachel? After dinner, I said, she's next door playing basketball on the other side of the house. We called Rachel. She took an assessment. He scored it, and that's the first one I ever looked at. I'll never forget him looking at it. He said, wow, she is really a handful, isn't she? I said, yeah. He said, do you know why you're having such a hard time raising her? I said, why? He said, because she doesn't like you very much. Then he said, she didn't like anybody very much. Now, this is no cut or slam to someone who has a D-C personality, but they're just so task-oriented that they have to work at being people-oriented because it doesn't come naturally to them. So he said, I'll never forget this, y'all, because see, if things are going to change in your life, you have to make some changes. Because if you keep doing what you've always been doing, you'll always get what you've always gotten. But if you want to get something different, you have to do something different. He looked at me and he said, do you have trouble with her at bedtime? It was like he put his finger right on it. I said, every night it's a war. He said, Robert, what do you tell her at bedtime? You have to watch my face to see what I saw. He said, what do you tell her at bedtime? And I said, well, I usually say, Rachel, you need to be in bed by 10 o'clock. He went. He leaned his, he said, that's what you say to her? I said, yeah, she's 12 years old. She needs a little guidance here. She ought to go to bed. He said, Robert, it's okay. You're her father and you need to guide her, and I get it. But Robert, when you say to a D, you need to be in bed by 10 o'clock, that may be what you say, but that's not what she hears. What she hears is, you want to fight? And I remember saying, how do you want to fight? How do you need to be in bed? He dropped his head. He said, well, you don't understand D's. Then he said one of the most powerful sentences I've ever heard in my whole life. He looked at me, a very powerful sentence. Here's what he said. You need to learn to say the same thing in a different way. Boy, that is so powerful. You need to say the same thing. He said, you know what that requires? A little bit of thought. You know what that requires? A little bit of interaction. You know what that requires? Knowing what the needs are of different personalities. I didn't know how to do that. He coached me for 2 hours on how to talk to my daughter because I had been watching him work with her, and it was like they connected. And I'm thinking, why does he know more about my daughter in 12 minutes than I have figured out in 12 years? That bothered me a lot. If you and I worked on the same project and I finished in 12 minutes and you finished in 12 years, would that bother you? I hope it would. I hope you'd say, what does he know that I don't know? That's what I was sitting there thinking. The teacher's on my back porch. And he said, Robert, you're going to have to say the same thing in a different way. So I said, help me. 2 hours he coached me on how to talk to my daughter from her perspective. I'd never heard of this stuff. I didn't know. So the next night we were having dinner. Rachel's nickname's Tiger. As a matter of fact, on my phone when she calls me, Tiger comes up. I always think, brace yourself, here it comes. So she was sitting across from me eating mashed potatoes with English peas in them. I can see it like it was yesterday. I said, hey, Tiger, you can go to bed tonight anytime you want to. You're the boss and you're in charge. I'm turning it over to you. 10's the limit, but you can make it happen any way you want to. She never even looked up. She was eating her mashed potatoes, English peas, and she said, okay. And the first thing that went through my positive mental attitude mind was, this doesn't work. That night at 10 o'clock, she went in her room, shut the door, cut off her light, and went to bed. And I went and stood by the door and listened. And then I picked all my teeth up off the floor. I couldn't believe it. Now, let me ask you a question here just for a second. Do these sentences sound different to you? You need to be in bed by 10 o'clock. Or you can go to bed whenever you want to. You're the boss. I'm turning it over to you. You can make it happen any way you want to. You're in charge. 10's the limit. But anything that you want to make it happen that way is fine with me. It took me 2 hours to learn how to say that and come across like I really meant it. Because what I was doing wasn't working. And see, if what you're doing is not working, maybe you need to do something different. So I started learning how to do that. And it just lit my fire. And I thought, that was amazing. So I thought I'd begin just slowly, a little bit. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. You make little bit of progress, you fall off. And you make a little bit more progress and you fall off again. But you think, I think I'm getting the hang of this. I think I'm getting my balance. And you ride a little bit more and you fall off again. And then after a while you go, I think I'm getting the hang of this. That's what was going on. I was sharing with the group yesterday morning in leadership about 3 or 4 months into this. This would have been in 1985. On a Saturday night, a guy called me and he said, I am so sick. He said, could you teach my Sunday school class for me tomorrow? I said, sure. What do you want me to teach on? He said, I don't care. I'm sick. So I got there the next morning. I drew like a circle. I hope God videoed this so I can watch it. It was terrible. I had a group of people and I was trying to teach them. I said, let me just share with y'all what I've been learning. And I drew a circle, I drew a line across it. And I said, some people are more outgoing and some people are more reserved, like the room. I drew a line down the middle. I said, some people are more task and some are more people. And I said, I put a D, an I, an S, and a C. And I said, dominant, inspiring, supportive, and cautious. I told them everything I knew. In 30 minutes, I was out of gas. I knew nothing else. So anyway, I finished up that morning. The bell rang and nobody moved. It's the only time I've ever seen this happen in my whole life. We're all Pavlov's dog. When the bell rings, whether it's school, church, what happens when the bell rings? Everybody get up and leave. Nobody moved. Everybody's just staring at me. And y'all, the first thing that went through my mind was, is my zipper down? I didn't know why. I had this strange look. Everybody was looking at me. Nobody got up. And I never see Pat Cangelosi, he was sitting right here. And I said, what? And he said, you're holding back on us. I said, no, I've told you everything I know. They said, we're not leaving till you promise you'll come back and teach us more. I said, I've told you all everything I know. They said, learn more. Here's what happened. It was one of those serendipitous moments where I saw something I'd never seen before. It's like, we're interested in this. May I tell you something? Everybody's interested in this. If you start learning how to do this and sharing this with people, you will see a high rate of interest because here's what's going on. So that's why my mom's the way she is. So that's why my dad's the way she is. That's why my husband, my wife, my kids. How many of you have 2 or more children? Anybody here have 2 or more? How many of you notice those 2 or more children are different from each other? How's that work? You just get a personality. You're born with it. My second daughter, she has this personality. She is look at her second trait, her I trait. It's the highest of traits. They're sisters. She doesn't like anybody. She loves everybody. She'd bring home stray dogs, cats, bums, people. I don't care who they were. She's fine anybody. To this day, I do not and cannot sit beside her at a funeral or at church. We don't. We were at a funeral one day. She leaned over and said, what if they drop them? I said, don't ever. I mean, our whole row was doing the wave at a funeral. I got to tell you, I love all of them the same, but I treat them very differently because they are very different. When she got ready, it's so funny, watch. She, out of all four of my daughters, we're wired the same. We have a very low C. I have to work at that. And she told me when she's graduating from college, I said, how much last semester? By the way, she was able to cram 4 years of college into 6.5 years. That was amazing. So her last semester of college, I said, how much money do you need for books? This is a true story. She said, I don't need any books. I said, what? She said, I hadn't used any yet. I don't make this stuff up. Her name is Esther. When I went to her graduation, her major professor said, it's been great having hysterical in my class. What his nickname was for Esther. She's like, we can't even look at each other because we always know and feel and think what's going on. With Rachel, I always cut to the chase, make it happen. With Esther, just lighten it up, have fun. I've told y'all this story before. One day she smarted off to her mother and I said, you're not talking to your mom like that. You're on phone restriction for 3 days. She went, what do you mean I'm on phone restriction? Now, let me explain something to you. It took me a long time to learn how to do that because that is not a natural male movement. No, I'm serious. There are 5 parts to this movement. I've watched this with my 4 teenage girls. The first one is you twist your feet. The second one is you throw out your hips. The third one is you put your hands on your hips. The fourth one is you throw your head back. And the fifth one is you throw your jaw forward exactly at the moment as you go, ah! But if you don't do this exactly right, you'll look weird to your teenage daughters when you go, ah! I went in the bathroom one night and I practiced that because I wanted to learn how to do it. Because one day we're talking, going back and forth. I can see just about perfect timing when it's getting ready to happen. And just before they do it to me, I look at them and go, ah! And they look at me and go. It's so much fun. So I said, you're on phone restriction for 3 days. The next day she came to me. I was in the house. She said, Dad, can I talk to you? I said, sure, sweetie, what's going on? She said, Dad, I've got to get off phone restriction. I'm dying. I thought, wow, have I found the right discipline for you? See, now that same discipline, that won't work for a D. If you say to a D, you're on phone restriction, they'll look at you and say, I don't need your phone. I'll be out of this house one day and I'll have plenty of phones. I'll also have money, Dad, and you will need a loan. One night, Esther and I, we were shopping. We got ready to leave Marshall's. True story. We're leaving Marshall's. She's barefooted. And I said, sweetie, where are your shoes? She said, I've lost them. She was 23 years old when this happened. And I said, how'd you lose your shoes? She said, I've been trying on shoes going in and out of all these stores and I put them somewhere and I don't know where I put them. I said, do you think we should just leave them here? She said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go crawling under the stalls looking where people are naked trying on clothes? I said, yes. She said, ah! So she went and looked, she found her shoes, she came back. I'll never forget, she came back. And I'm thinking, child's 23 years old and she can't keep up with her shoes. We got in the car, we're on our way, this is a true story. We're on our way, it's a July night, we're on our way to home. She said, let's go to Kmart. I said, what's at Kmart? She said, an icy? Dad, it's hot tonight, let's go get an icy. I said, what is an icy? Shaved ice with cola, strawberry, cherry. She said, they're so good. So I said, okay. So we went to Kmart. We got out of the car. You think I talk fast? You think I walk fast? I can't keep up with her. So we're walking into Kmart. I'm behind her. We're going through the store. She yells over her shoulder to me, it's a big white machine. They roll it around in the store so you have to find it and buy stuff while you're in the store. So we're walking through the aisles, up and down, looking everywhere. We passed the checkout line. I'm about right here. Esther's about right here. And all of the people in the checkout line are right there. Suddenly, out of the blue, my daughter stops, swirls around in front of all these people, looks back at me and says, sir, please quit following me. Everybody in the checkout line all turned and looked at me like, you pervert. I said, no, that's my daughter. We're in here looking for the icy machine. She looked at those people and said, I've never seen that man before. I almost got arrested in Kmart. Finally, she told him I was her dad. We got in the car. She said, wasn't that funny? I said, where did you see that, on Seinfeld or somewhere? She said, no, I just made it up. This personality style, you've got to learn. They need a little bit of fun. They need a little excitement. They have a hard time in school. That's why they have an attention span of a gnat. But they're great, great people, and we love to have a good time with them. Go to the bottom of the page. We got to keep moving. This is the group that's in the back of the room on the right. They are your supportive type. They are steady and stable. This is your steady Eddie type. If you're going to rearrange their office, you need to give them about 3 years notice before you do that. Tells they don't like conflict. They like everything to stay the same. They are very sweet. They just have a sweet disposition or a kindness to them. They love the status quo. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's leave things like they are. They don't like surprises, like things to stay the same. Of all the personalities, they tend to be the most shy. They don't need the spotlight. They don't need a whole lot of accolades. They just have a heart of gold, and they genuinely, lovingly want to help. Last word, and I hate doing this, but I've got to be fair. I told the D's, you're defiant. I's, you're illogical. S's, you have such a hard time saying no. That's why you come across as a sucker. If an S says yes, they may mean no. They just don't want to bother anybody. They want to make sure everybody's getting along with each other. Let's be nice. I find this so odd. This may be one of the top 10 things I've learned in my whole life about my family. Watch, this is amazing to me. You see Rachel's lowest trait is her S trait. That's her first, second, third, D-I-S-C. Look at Rachel. This is my oldest daughter. Look at her S trait. Very low. She has to work. And I got to give her credit. She has done a marvelous job. But she has to work at being nice and kind and gentle with people. She's one of these, let's go kind of people. And so for her to come across as, can I help you, is a struggle for her. But she does it, and I honor that in her. This is daughter number 3. Are you ready? This is Elizabeth. They are sisters. They came from the same gene pool. Are you watching this? Look at Rachel's D. Look at Elizabeth's D. Look at Rachel's S trait. Look at Elizabeth's S trait. Are you following this? In 18 years of life, she never did anything wrong. She just showed up every day. What do you want me to do? Good attitude, sweet, loving, kind, just easy to get along with, easy to raise. One day we were talking and she said something that hurt my feelings. I couldn't believe it. I said, Elizabeth, it hurt my feelings. She started rubbing this arm. She said, what did I say? I didn't mean to say anything to hurt your feelings. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. We got it cleared up in a minute. About 2 weeks later, I was talking to Rachel. Rachel said something kind of abrasive to me, and I said, hey, Tiger. I said, that hurt my feelings. She looked at me and said, grow up. Okay. They are. Now, let me ask you a question here while we're on this. Watch. Does anybody in this room think it'd be a good idea to try to raise these 2 children the same way? Do you think it'd be a good idea to sell to these 2 potential clients the same way? Do you think it'd be a good idea to work with these 2 customers, these 2 athletes? Do you think it'd be the same way? Of course not. You said it'd be ridiculous. If you don't understand this information, you know what you'll always do? You'll do everything the way it feels best to you. You'll automatically default to the personality style of your own because that's the only way you know how to do. We're going to see how to change that this morning. Notice for the C area, this is the 4th one. Then we can move faster because we've got our foundation laid. This is the one that's cautious, and this is the one that was hard for me. Because see, before I learned this style, I heard people say, from their perspective, they were going, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. That's from their perspective. From my perspective, it sounded like, why are you asking me so many questions? Good grief. Can I tell you something? Oh, I value this style now because instead of resisting it, don't miss it, instead of resisting it, I've started receiving it. When a C says, have you thought about, I go, it's like, shh, I don't want to miss this. 1991, I was doing a training. A woman came up to me. She said, can I talk to you just for a second? I could tell she was a little bit upset. I said, yes. I said, did I offend you? She said, no. She said, you are great to listen to, but you're hard to follow. She said, your topic today could have been everything because you're all over the place. But she said it was all good. She said, have you ever thought about making little handouts for people to follow along? She said, it would help us so we could have the material after you're gone, and it would probably keep you a little bit more on track. I said, that's a great idea. She said, can I show you my notes? And she showed me her notes from my talk. I said, can I get a copy of this? She said, yes. She mailed me a copy of it. That's how all this started. We have tons of this stuff. That was a very valuable conversation. And you see, instead of learning to make fun of what I don't understand, I've tried to learn what I don't understand so it can help me to be a better person. And I can recognize, people really are different. I was at a big event one night. A woman came up to me and she said, "Could I have a word with you?" And because I had made a big deal about this C-types and I had talked about how smart they were. And I made this comment. I said, unless you're going to live on an island by yourself with a soccer ball named Wilson, you're going to need this information, referring to Tom Hanks' movie, The Castaway. How many of y'all remember Castaway, Tom Hanks? So she comes up to me and she says, "Could I have a moment?" And she was visibly shaken. And I said, "Did I say something wrong?" And she said, "Well, yes." And I said, "I hope I didn't offend you." She said, No, you didn't offend me, but you said, and I said, "What did I say?" She said, "You said a soccer ball named Wilson." It was a volleyball. Now watch carefully, because this is the best teaching moment of the day. From my perspective, here's what I wanted to say. Soccer ball, volleyball, football, basketball. I was just trying to make a point that he was on an island by himself and he had a ball as a friend. And that's what I wanted to say. It's not what I said. Thank you, God. What I said was, "Really?" She said, "Yes." She said, "I just thought you would want to be honest and correct and make sure." I said, "In the future, when I tell this story, would it be okay if I honored you by sharing how you helped me to learn that?" She said, "It'd be perfectly acceptable." So when I went home, here's what went through my head. I still think it was a soccer ball. I have the movie. So when I got home, I put it on, ran it forward. It was a volleyball. Now, but you see what happened? By honoring her and making her feel and think, this is important. I don't want to be dishonest. I wasn't trying to be dishonest. I just didn't get it right. She moved me one more step in the right direction, gave me a great story, and helped me to understand, be careful, be cautious, because these people like accuracy. They are cautious. They are calculating. Jot down the words. They are calculating. They are very competent. That's why I said they're smart. School was designed for this group. They are very conscientious. They proofread Xerox copies, like to make sure everything is done in a correct manner. They are contemplative. Let me think about it. I want to go over it. Usually they make great pilots, great physicians, great attorneys. Why? They're attracted to professions that require graduate school, thought, debate, understanding what's going on. They're very careful. But if you'll recall, I said the D's are defiant, the I's are illogical, the S's are suckers. C's, I got to tell you something. You don't see it, just like the D's. Watch. The D's don't know they come across like this. I's don't know they come across like this. S's don't know they come across like walk on me, white feet when finished. They don't know. C's, you don't realize it, but you come across cold. People walk away from you, and you know what they think? I know you won't believe this, but it's true. People walk away from you and they think, are they mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Do they even like me? So here's what you have to do. You have to let your face know that you are happy when you are. Watch, I'm going to show you a C's face when they're really excited and happy. You ready? Best story I've got, Dr. David Norris. He's an anesthesiologist in Kansas City. You can Google him. He's given me permission to tell this story. Dr. Norris, he said, I love medicine. I became a physician because I love medicine, but I went into anesthesiology because I don't like people. He said, I never see my patients. I put them under, bring them back, and bill them out. You want to hear that again? Put them under, bring them back, bill them out. He can say that. Put them under, bring them back, bill them out. He said, never have to talk to anybody. That's why I'm an anesthesiologist. He said the most important thing I've ever learned in my life is the disc information. He said, I was in my office at my home one day reading, and my 12-year-old son walked in. He said, he's a high D. Now watch, the father would have been back there, the son would have been over there. He said he walked in my office, looked at me and said, Dad, what are you thinking about? He said he looked at my face and read me correctly because I was thinking. He said, we talked about the case for a few minutes. He's 12 years old. He went outside to play. He said, about 30 minutes later, my 8-year-old high-eyed daughter comes bouncing in my office. She looked at me and said, what are you so mad about? She saw the same face, but she was from this side. Does that make sense? She saw his face and misread it because it looked cold. He told me, he said, I'm not mad. Why do you think I'm mad? She said, your face says you're mad. She's 8 years old. When you're 8 and your father's a physician, you can talk to him like that. She said, your face says that. So he said, Dr. Omi said, I went in the bathroom. I practiced smiling for a little while because I want, when my daughter sees me coming, I want her to feel loved and accepted. And the only way I can do that is if I change me, not her. He said, then he said this made me that's maybe the funniest sentence I've ever heard in my life. He said, do you know the hardest thing in my whole life I've learned to do? Even harder than medical school was to learn to do this. I still have that picture of his face in my mind. Can you imagine a high C anesthesiologist learning, here she comes, my high-eyed daughter, I better change my face because I want her to feel loved and accepted. Open, if you would, on the inside real quickly. I'm going to give you the fill in the blanks. We can do this. We're working our way down here. On the inside, this is the way you connect. I may seem advancing to you. This is the way they come across. They may be, here's the word really, I didn't want to use the word advancing. I didn't want to use the word pushy, but that's really what it means. Expect me to use big gestures. Everything's big, they're strong, they're powerful. I may challenge you. My tone tends to be direct and abrupt. If you understand personalities, you'll understand what's going on in America right now. Are you aware that everybody in Washington, D.C., do you know how you get to be a senator? Do you know how you get to be in the House of Representatives? Do you know how you get to be the president? It's real simple. You're high D. And you love to fight and debate, and you build your business or your law practice. And nobody tells me what to do kind of attitude. And then they all go to Washington, and here's what they're told. Y'all work together. They've never done that in their whole life. No wonder it doesn't work. It's a D atmosphere that they have a hard time reflecting in. Go over to the I area. I may seem amusing to you. Another word for amusing would be unfocused and all over the place. Expect me to use, come on, it's going to come up here. There it comes. Expressive gestures. I may be distracted. You can count on it. And my tone tends to be personal and likable. Still on the first page here. Personal and, talkative. Go to the C area. These are again ways to connect. The S area. I may seem reassuring to you. Another word for reassuring is weak. I don't want to cause any trouble. Expect me to use gentle. Come on, it's going to come here. It goes gentle gestures. I may prefer listening. My tone tends to be warm and conversational. They just want everybody to love each other and to get along. This helps you to see how they work. Then the C area, I may seem unemotional to you. Expect me to use controlled gestures. I may focus on details. My tone tends to be clarifying and monotone. Now, this helps you to understand them. All right? You should have a good read on them. What do you do? What am I supposed to do? Go to the middle of the page, open it up, and you'll see the 4 areas on the inside of the page. Santi, this thing keeps vibrating. I don't know if it's running batteries low or what. I just wanted to let you know. Every time I touch it, it's okay. Here we go, upper left. I want to know what's going on. What do you want me to do? If I'm really interested, I think it's dying. I'm just going to call it out to you, so we'll do the best we can until we get it fixed. If I'm really interested, I will challenge you. There it is. Here it comes. I want you to be direct. If you're dealing with someone who has a lot of D, just get to the point. When they ask you what time it is, don't explain the history of the Big Ben clock. Just tell them what time it is. That's what they want to know. Because I will decide quickly. I will decide quickly. Everybody got that? Let's go to the I area. On the population, 10%. You see it there on your notes? 10%. It's right on the D area. 10%. And are y'all aware of why 10 is the smallest in the general population? You know why that is? Because God is merciful. That's why that is. All right, go to the upper right area. Upper right. You got a different one? Yeah, this thing's just playing funny with me. Thanks. Good. Okay, it was the battery. Okay. The upper right. I want to know who. Who all's going? Who will be there? Who will I see? Who will see me? Well, I will be a high I at their very best. You ready? Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Rome from Atlanta, Georgia. How you like me so far? Huh? Well, enough talking about me. Let's talk about you. How do you like me? You see, if you understand their style and you spend just a couple of minutes talking about them and having fun with them, you've got them forever. If I'm really interested, I will tell you how I feel. I will tell you how I feel. They love to tell you. Let me tell you how I feel about that. As a matter of fact, learn to listen to words. A left-sided person, let me tell you what I think about that. A right-sided person, say, let me tell you how I feel about that. Those are words that help describe what's going on inside of them. When I'm talking to an audience, sometimes I'll say, so, what do you think about that? How do you feel about it? So I can cover both sides of the equation. I want you to be excited because I will decide emotionally. If you want to sell, work with, connect with this style, you got to have a little emotion. By the way, you know what the biggest business in the world is? Entertainment. And there's no business like show business. Connect with this group, you've got to have a little bit of fun with them. Notice if the bottom row, 20 to 25%. 20 to 25% is a large portion. It's on your notes there. Fill in the blank, 20 to 25%. Then go to the S area. I want to know how. How can I help you? How can I please you? How do you want me to do this? If I'm really interested, I will take my time. Just the opposite of the D. Did y'all notice today when we broke the room up into 4 groups, there was less than 4 or 5 people in the whole room who pointed to the group diagonally across from them. Did you notice that? Why is that? Watch. Because the group that's diagonally across from you is the group you tend to know the least about, and who you have the most conflict with, and who you marry. Why is that? It's because I asked a psychiatrist this. This isn't peculiar to America. It's all over the world. I said, why do opposites find each other? Dr. Paul Meyer here in Dallas, he's a psychiatrist. He told me, he said, we tend to look into others for traits we don't have. For instance, a D looks at an S and thinks, you are so nice. You are so kind and loving and gentle, and I'm not that way. They don't process every detail, but that's the dynamic. I need you in my life. The S looks at the D and thinks, you're not afraid of anything. You're so bold and brave. I just feel safe with you. Opposites find each other. Opposites attract, and then opposites attack. Because after a while, what brings you together wears on you. An I looks at a C and thinks, God, you're so smart. You read, you think, you know how to process. A C looks at an I and thinks, you could talk to a tree. I've never seen anything. You've never met a stranger in your whole life. I don't really like walking up and talking to everybody. You just walk up and talk to everybody. And you find each other. And so you're brought together, then after a while, it begins to wear on you. If you're not careful, it can drive you crazy. You know what's so funny? I have so much of that in me. I'm just kind of out there. I was at the airport. My wife dropped me off at the airport one morning in Atlanta. I was going through security. I was leaving. And I looked and I saw a blind fellow right going through security. And my heart kind of went out and I thought, that's got to be hard. I have a hard time going through security and I can see. And I started looking at him and I thought, gosh, he looks familiar. And I thought, that's Stevie Wonder. And so I asked the guard, I said, is that Stevie Wonder? And they said, yeah. And I thought, oh, this is great. So I called my wife. I said, hey, where are you? She said, I'm about 10 minutes from the airport. What's wrong? I said, nothing, just hold on. She said, did you forget something? I said, no. What I wanted to say was, I don't know what I'm getting ready to do, but I'm getting ready to do something. So just hang on. So I waited until Stevie Wonder got all of his stuff. He had two people with him. One real big guy, I assumed was either a bodyguard or somebody, and an older gentleman. He was holding his arm. He was, I assumed, his manager or his dad. So I started walking beside him, and I said, and I had April on the phone, and I said, Stevie, I said, my wife and I are big Stevie Wonder fans. We just love you. He said, thank you, man. He said, I really appreciate that. I said, Stevie, I have her on the phone. Could you say hi to her? He said, oh, yeah, I'd be happy to. So he said, hand me your phone. So I handed him my phone. As he took my phone, he said, what's her name? And I said, April. He said, oh, okay. He said, is this April? And she said, yes. And he said, I just called to say I love you. He started singing his song to my wife. My wife said, who is this? He said, it's Stevie. And she said, Stevie who? He said, Stevie Wonder. So anyway, so we talked. He handed me the phone, but he said, thanks for letting me do that. I said, thanks, thank you for. My wife, I got the phone. She said, who was that really? I said, it was Stevie Wonder. She said, what are you doing with Stevie Wonder? I said, I'm traveling with him now. We go places together. You never know with the S. If you want to know how I feel, I'll take my time, be sincere. Watch this, because I will decide slowly. Take your time, decide slowly. And then the percentage of the population, look at it, 30 to 35%. It's the largest, and that's because God is merciful again, only this time to our advantage. And then finally, the C area, and then we're going to wrap this up in our last few minutes. The C, if I'm really interested, I want to know why, and I will ask questions. See, this is so opposite of me. They ask questions because I want you to be credible. Don't rush it, slow it down. They're looking for credibility because I will decide carefully. Percentage of the population, 20 to 25%. And they do make great physicians. If you don't understand what's going on, you'll be confused. I've had all 4 of my daughters come home at different times saying, well, I went to the gynecologist today and he wasn't very friendly. And I always think to myself, I'm glad the gynecologist wasn't very friendly. I mean, maybe that's just me as a dad. I don't know. I don't want my daughters going to a friendly gynecologist. So, but it took me, here's why physicians in general, physicians have a bad bedside manner. They're always talked about like, well, they're not very friendly. That's because they're on this side of the room. This side of the room is the task side. You want somebody friendly, go over to this side of the room. And by the way, this will be worth $1 million to you right here. This is one of the greatest things I've learned in my whole life about these two sides of the room. And I can do a whole hour on this, but I'll just do a minute. There's a misunderstanding that if you wake up to this, it'll change the dynamic of your life. There's a misunderstanding between these two sides of the room. This side of the room, task, thinks this side of the room is basically lazy and unfocused. It is a misunderstanding. This side of the room looks at this side of the room and thinks, it'd be nice if you got a life. It'd be nice if you just get on top of things and make things happen and get something done. Could you just pick up the pace a little bit and make them sing? They feel it. They think that way about it. It gets worse. This side of the room feels that side of the room is basically mean. They look over there like, well, why have you got to be so pushy? Why have you got to be so hard? Why have you got to be so on top of everything with all your goals and everything? Accomplish all of your goals. Good for you. Hope you get run over this afternoon. And if you understand, you know what the truth of the matter is? We need each other. I need that side of the room to help me get focused. This side of the room needs that side of the room so you'll have people who love you and care about you and you can connect with. It requires, here's the word, visiting both sides. I'm not telling you if you're over here to move over there, and I'm not telling you if you're over here to move over there. I'm saying learn to visit. Learn to visit. In general, I'm going to tell you the secret to life. Right to left. Right to left. What are you talking about? What's the right side? People. What's the left side? Task. Here's the secret to life. Love people and get things done. Can we say that out loud? What's the secret to life? Love people and get things done. That's it. That's the approach that you make. On the last page, on the back, at the very top, all of you, many of you have already seen this. If you would, circle the word your own. Circle the word your own. This is on the top of the page in the back. Circle the word your own. Okay, number 2, know a team member's personality style. Circle the word team members. Number 3, know how to adapt. Circle the word adapt. And number 4, know how to develop a better team. Circle the word develop. And then look up here. I'm going to teach you those 4 things. Everybody hold your finger up. Here's step number 1. It starts, tap yourself. Tap yourself. Tap yourself right on your sternum. The reason I say tap yourself, it's not a one time in the morning you get up and go. No, you have to continually think through the day. Who am I? What am I involved in? Where am I going? What do I need to do right now? Number 2 is a team member. So point to other people on your team. Don't just point to 1, point to 4 or 5. You know why you have to point to 4 or 5? Because you're doing this all day long. Number 3, here's number 3, and here's the payoff. Here's number 3. You adapt. You adapt. So you loop it back through you. So everybody loop. Let's loop. Let's have some loop-de-loop. Loop, loop. Who am I talking to? Am I a D? Cut to the chase. If I'm talking to an I, have a little bit of fun. Laugh. I'm talking to an S. Be gentle, loving. Talking to a C. Double check it. Go over it. Slow it down. And then the 4th one is team members. Look up here. Here's the 4th one. Take it with you everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. Let's do those 4 real quick. First step, it's all about me. Number 2, who am I talking to? Number 3, how can I adjust? How can I adapt? How long do you do this? All day. When can you stop? When you go to bed at night. I'm married to the sweetest human on this planet. I can look in her eyes and tell when I have messed this up. If I wake up in the morning and I say, good morning, could you make us some coffee? Does that sound like a relationship or a task? Yeah. That's right. She'll go, sure, I'll be happy to. I think, don't ever do that. Here's the way I wake up. Good morning. How'd you get so pretty so early in the morning? When I see you, I still see that 16-year-old girl walking down the street, had on a pair of green plaid shorts. I'm so glad I got to be married to you. You're so precious to me. You want to make some coffee? I know what you're saying. This is nothing but manipulation. No, it's connecting with someone. And it's talking to them in a way that they can. And yet, she knows how much fun I like to have. I mean, I never know who I'm coming to the Atlanta airport, who's going to pick me up. One night I was sitting outside at Delta. I'll never forget. She called. I said, where are you? She said, I'm about 10 minutes late. I'm so sorry. I got tied up in traffic. She said, it's not a problem. I'm sitting on the bench all the way at the end at Delta at the Atlanta airport. A Delta flight attendant walks by. Beautiful girl, long blonde hair. She's got her bag, Delta outfit on. She stops right in front of me and says, hi. And I looked at her and I said, hello. And I was writing in my journal and she continued to walk. A few minutes later, she walks by me again, stops right in front of me and says, hi. I said, hello. And I continued to write my journal. A few minutes later, she comes and sits next to me on this bench, puts her bag aside, crosses her legs and pulls her skirt up just a little bit. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this woman's hitting on me in broad open daylight. I can understand that. So, I'm just kidding. I turned and looked, it was my wife. She had a Delta outfit on. She had a long blonde wig. She looked at me and said, oh, you so passed that test. One Easter, I said, where are you? She said, I'm across the street. And I'm looking across the street and I see kids. I see a big rabbit. I see a whole bunch of other people. And I say, are you here at the airport? She said, I'm looking at you right now. I said, you're looking at me? She said, yes. I said, where are you? She said, I'm right across the street in front of you. And I looked again and I thought, wait a minute. I said, by any chance, are you dressed up like a giant rabbit? And I saw a giant rabbit with a cell phone and an American flag go. I said, what are you doing in a rabbit's outfit? She said, it was Easter. I was the Easter bunny at church this afternoon for the Easter egg hunt. She said, I've been waiting for you for 2 hours and every kid in this airport has pulled my tail. She said, come on, let's go. She said, oh, by the way, I don't have on anything underneath this. So anyway, I'm married to a very exciting human. Just trust me on that. If you'll notice on the other side, this is what we did this morning. This is how we broke up the room. There it is, right in front of you in living color. Did you see how everybody went side to side to side? And MD stands for more difficult. Can you do it? Yes, but it's going to require some effort and work. That's what's on the notes are there on the back. You can have more time to do that, and I've got a few more times with you. And then on the bottom, here we go. There are only a few fill in the blanks, and I've got to stop because my time's up, but watch carefully. Don't miss this. I'm just going to hit a few of them. Here's their outlook. Money, profit, and the bottom. Are you filling this in for me? Oh, thank you, Santi. That makes it even better. I know what that's about. Somebody's raised their D. These are the fill in the blanks. Go ahead and give them all real quick, and you can put them in there. I love the fast, notice this, the bottom line, fun, travel, excitement, helping people, building friendships, products, value, and excellence. There's a whole, listen, I'm doing everything I can, but just living and doing it for you. These are some things, if you'll take the time to know, these are their needs. This is the way they operate. This is the way they think. This is the way they feel. If I do this with them, to them, for them, I'll connect with them, to them, or for them. And notice, I think my favorite one is number 14, line 14. These are called killer statements. If you ever say these, Howard, you're going to love this. If you ever say line 14 to somebody, you've royally messed up. Are you ready? Killer statements to a D. You can't do that. Oh, you just created a big fight. How about for the I? You think that's funny? Now you hurt their feelings. For the S's, this is the worst of all. You're not very nice. Oh no, that's just the worst thing you could ever say. And finally for the C, you made a mistake. Oh, that is just the worst. I'll let you jot those down, then show you something, and we are going to go have lunch. Everybody got them? We'll leave them up here so you can get them. Listen, honestly, if you'll get alone, spend a little bit of time looking at this. You have my permission to jot some of these down on a 3x5 card and keep them with you when you do sales, when you do marriage, when you do family, when you're raising kids. Isn't that funny? I have 4 daughters. Daughters 1, 2, and 4 are all outgoing. I talk fast, I move fast. Daughter 3, very reserved. Slow it down. Make sure I understand. All right, let's play a little game together real quick as we finish up. Everybody hold out your hands like this. Everybody hold them out. Hold them out. Everybody got them? All right, now lock them together like that. Interlock your fingers. Now look at your hands. How many of you have your right thumb on top of your left thumb? Hold them up. Hold them up. Look around. That's about half. Now put them down. How many have your left thumb on top of your right thumb? Hold them up. Maybe a few more there. Good. All right, put them down. Now ready? Pull them apart and put them back the other way and tell me, how does that feel? Does that not feel weird? It's like I've got an extra thumb. Or whose hands are these? Notice that's not natural to you. It's not right, wrong, good or bad, immoral, unethical, religious. It has nothing to do with anything other than the way you're comfortable. Ready? Fold your arms real quick. Quick, fold them. Now look at them. How many of you have your right arm over your left arm? Hold them up, right armers. Thanks, put them down. How many have your left arm over your right arm? Hold them up. Thanks, left armers. You ready? Switch them. Isn't that crazy? Now watch. That's exactly what it's going to be like emotionally when you start taking on the traits of a different personality style. It's not going to feel right. It's not going to feel normal. And I got to say this real little PS, especially the C's, because you feel like I'm not being honest and true to who I am. I'm not asking you to be dishonest. I'm asking you to learn and grow in areas that are different from how you normally feel. We have put together for you, this is the only time I've done it in my whole life. And by the way, let me just say this very quickly. This isn't a big promotion. Nothing here. Everything here is like, we love you, we want to help you, but you don't have to buy anything. We're just glad that you're here. I put together the whole shooting match, and it's back on the table. I only brought one set. And the reason I only brought one set is this is so much stuff. I've done this before. People will say, can you just ship it to me? So if you'd like to get this, it is a $1,599 package. I mean, that's everything for $5.99, and actually it's $4.99 because you get a coupon for $100 off of any one of our trainings in Atlanta for the rest of the year. If you'd like to look at that, everything that's in that package is on the table. Please don't get anything because that's our sample pack. But if you'd like to, you'll never see this deal. If you were to go online and try to buy this, it would be $1,599 plus shipping. And it's a heavy box of stuff too. I know, I picked it up. But if you would like to get all of this and have us ship it to you, shipping's included. That's all available on the table. We're not trying to rush you into anything. That's your choice to think that through, and then we'll be all done. I want to thank Howard and Tom for letting me be with y'all this morning. I'm looking forward to, I'll be back later this afternoon. I have a amazing special presentation at 5:30 this afternoon that you're all invited to. It's an optional session, and I'll be telling you a little bit more about that later today. Last story, and then I'm all finished, and we're going to go have lunch. Any more announcements? Anything after this? Okay, turn it back over. All right. This is so evident when you see a teacher walks into her class, and a teacher, she doesn't know about personality. She's not been trained in this. So she walks into the class, and she says, "Boys and girls, do you know the test I told you we were having today? I've decided to postpone that, and we're going to have it tomorrow." The C-type, the cautious student, sits there and goes, "That's not fair. I studied for the test. I'm ready to take it right now, and you're canceling it on us out of the blue? I didn't watch television to prepare for this. You are so unstable." The S student responds differently. The S sits there and goes, "Thank you. Another day to study together. You are so good to us. You are so sweet to help us all have time. We can work together to do better. What a wonderful teacher you are." The D reacts one way or the other. If the D studied for the test and you cancel it, he goes, "Ah! G-" But if he didn't study and you cancel, he goes, "What? There is a God after all." And the high sits there and says, "We had a test today?" Y'all have been great. Thank you so much.
Let's give it up for Dr. Rome again. Great job.